Hello, everybody. It is my pleasure to introduce Ilia Mozias. He was born in the Soviet Union and moved to Israel in the 90s. He learned Chinese in Russia and Israel and lived and worked in China for many years. While overseeing the shipping of various items worldwide, he decided to explore something more interesting and esoteric while still assessing the quality of baby toys made for American and European markets. He began reading books on internal alchemy. Eventually, he decided to pursue a PhD and obtained it from the Hebrew University. He served as an invited scholar at Sichuan University and the Center for Chinese Studies in Taiwan. His research primarily focuses on studying internal alchemy during the modern imperial and modern periods, spanning from the 16th century to the present day. It also involves exploring religious practices associated with internal alchemy, such as spirit writing and thunder rites. His published book delves into the life and self-cultivation journey of a literati named Lu Zixing, who had no connection with any institutional religion. The book from 2020 covers his life, communication with gods via spirit writing, and his theoretical thinking. It's entitled The Literati Path to Immortality, the Alchemical Teaching of Lu Zixing. He is currently working on several projects, including studying the Western School of Internal Alchemy, one of the most influential alchemical schools in modern China and Taiwan. He is also exploring the connection between internal alchemy and political thought in China, investigating the quest for alternative sources of power. Additionally, he is researching the transformation of alchemical and religious thought in modern popular literature. Ilia.
Okay. Thank you very much for presentation. So the lecture about the guy named Wei Yao. So of course, Prince of Guarantee has a large impact on the development of esoteric tradition in China because it's mostly undermines for foundation. And and another important issue in China, because in Chinese actually blame esoteric practices for the crisis in China. Until present day in China, the position is like this, more or less. So alchemists developed different kind of strategies how to deal with it. It's mostly some scientific explanations, for example, or presenting alchemy as some kind of a good thing for social order or especially for health. So you have qigong, tai chi, all the stuff, all those issues. The problem, of course, is as in a religion, if you take transcendence from religion, so it's lose any sense. If you take immortality from religion, what exactly is practice about? So in this presentation, I will talk about a different alternative, how to deal with it. Actually, basic practice is on transcendence only, or to put in other words, manipulated emptiness. So see, as emptiness actually became very elastic and thin with very many shades, so to speak. So who is Wei Yao? We actually don't know. We don't know when he was born. We don't know when he died. All our information came from his books. And from his book, it appears that he was born in Sichuan, and probably he was some kind of a local official somewhere. In some stage, he met a guy named Wang Tonghin, who is a very important alchemist of the second half of the 19th century. We don't know when they met, and no idea, but the similarity between the books of the two, we have no doubt, we have no reason to doubt their connection. Wang Tonghin belonged to the school which called the Western School of Internal Alchemy. And Western School, just to make some historical background, it's right now the school exists, and it's probably one of the most important schools in Taiwan especially, but also in China, mainland China. And there's some guy who went, Lu Zixing, who also found the Western school at the beginning of the 19th century. But the problem is, but apparently there is no connection between one of him or Yao and Lucicians. But anyway, the modern alchemists they build their lineage back to name guy Lucicin, so it's called Western School, but it's not important for this presentation. So in 2020 and 2023. We organized some kind of spirit writing seances when he met Lu Tunbin and Zhang Sanfan, who is two of the most important and famous immortals in Chinese history, probably, and who also connected to the tradition of alchemy and spirit writing. According to him, according to his own books, he received from Zhang Sanfan the book. He wrote the book in spirit writing, which is the name is written here. In beginning of 24 until 26, he organized a series of lectures in Beijing when he explained the internal alchemy. They were recorded by some of his friends. And his issue is about this tradition because about his history. It's some kind of lectures, it is not transmission to his disciples. It's we don't know who the audience of lectures was, but it was probably quite open. So it's a little bit, it's not a secret transmission of any kind, so to speak. There's three books which apparently was written by him. So one of his books, as I told, was supposedly transmitted to him during spirit writing. Another, the names you can see here. About the publishing of the book, these books, actually after they're written, they disappeared. We don't know what was happened to this book until 41, when the name Gao Wenhong, who was a minister in the government of China by the time of Chiang Kai-shek government, they found this book and immediately printed it. This book in 90, and then all the information about this Wei Yao also disappeared until 91, when this book was presented to a guy named Ma Binwen, who was one of the most important figures in the history of Taoism in Taiwan in the last century. Ma Binwen himself would belong to this tradition, and he immediately printed it. Other books were printed much later by Chen Zhao and Shen He, which are very important figures in the history of modern internal alchemy and the history of dissemination of these books. So the issue is like this. So despite that this book was written 100 years ago, we are talking about new development. So basically, the Western school, as we know now, we began to develop as a movement in 19th. In Taiwan, it was also a guy named, as I mentioned him, Ma Binwen and his disciples, and now there has quite many alchemists who belong to the school and have their own even temples and organization and so on. And this book of Wei Yao became a kind of a textbook for this movement. Is quite important for them. So it's a new movement. It's a living movement. Just 2 words about this presentation. I'm not an anthropologist. I'm not discussing what these people think and how they interpret this book. This presentation about the book themselves, about the teaching of Wei Yao. So I'm not ignoring practitioner completely. It's impossible to do because actually some of the most important scholars of alchemy in Taiwan actually belong to this group, like Professor Xiao Jinmin. He's a member of the Western school, but again, it is not the analysis of how they interpret these texts. It's an analysis of these texts themselves. Okay. I need a little bit present what internal alchemy is. It's a little bit complicated because in internal alchemy is a spirit, is a self-cultivation practice which was developed more or less during Song Dynasty. And he's the most important tradition of self-cultivation in Taoism until present day. It's a very higher intellectual tradition, very traditional, which contains out the concept from the philosophy, cosmology, alchemy, eternal alchemy, external alchemy, and book of change and so on. So it's a little bit tricky to explain it because it's very complicated in the language and in the doctrine. So I try to do it not as simple as possible, but just keep in mind there is oversimplification. Yes. The aim of internal alchemy is create the internal body, which is called the young spirit. But the body called spirit, will return to that later. And why is alchemy? Because it used mind and body as an instrument of practice and as a material. So this is a lecture about emptiness. So a little bit I need to present what is emptiness in internal alchemy. And we need to divide, understand the difference between emptiness, for example, in Buddhism, in Taoism, in alchemy. It's not the same, usually. Alchemists understood emptiness from a cosmogonical or cosmological perspective. It's the state before the creation of the universe, before the creation of form and matter. At the same time, it's something which simultaneously produces the cosmos, just because it's nature. Just it, without any God and so on. It also could be understood as the emptiness of mind or space around us and many other things, which is actually, there's a concept which is called the things of the same kind, more or less, which does mean if, for example, things belong to the same kind, so they can represent each other or communicate to each other and so on. It's very important concept in Chinese philosophy and alchemy in Taoism and so on. So the practice of the aim of the practice is return to emptiness, back to emptiness. Here we have very careful because returning to emptiness, it doesn't mean disappearing of the self. It doesn't mean pure mind. It doesn't mean unifying with some kind of absolute and so on. It's entirely different concept, which is mean actually, which return to emptiness, you acquire power to control the creative power of emptiness. You mean you can regenerate your body and you don't do back to emptiness at will as you want. So actually, it's a concept. You preserve yourself by returning to emptiness. You can express as in like immortality in Taoism could be understood as absolute freedom. And here is the concept of body, because you really create some kind of special body which is able to regenerate itself. Again, it's oversimplification. Just to remind you. Okay, and what about the body in alchemy? It's important because there is kind of duality of body in alchemy, because on the one hand, it's generated and produced by emptiness. It came from emptiness. And there is a concept of the concept of qi, which is everybody knows, and it's usually entirely misunderstood. Qi is how emptiness creates the material world, more or less. You can see it as qi. It's the emptiness from the perspective of creation of material world, more or less. It's material from which we made, but this is material which in constant motion, it's fluid, in constant flow. So basically, it means that we are made out of emptiness, more or less. We can, it seems to be easily return back to it. But the problem is, on the other hand, but it's when we develop, our body is also some kind of a cage, which entrap us. It doesn't allow us to go back, because why? He is entrapped from two perspectives. Because qi is flow according to some natural laws, patterns. You can start like a calendar, like our life is one day or 1 hour. It's the same logic and the same pattern. So because it's one day, we are trouble, because we can change. We can return back. You can return after 11 hours. You can return back to 10 hours. You can only go to further. And from the it's also entrap us, because it's a form. Because when we form a form, it's limit our possibilities to do some outside our form. So basically we have duality of the body. And it is possible to understand alchemical cultivation as an attempt to resolve this duality. And how you do it, you actually reverse the flow of T. If T is usually flow from emptiness to form, you need to return back from form to emptiness. Go to the opposite direction. It's called going against the stream, ni in Chinese. Yes, and then you can by going against the cosmological flow, you can create immortal body and so on. How you do it? And by the way, another issue is you leave the body. You create new body outside your physical body. When you create a new body outside the physical body, you mean you're outside the boundaries of natural laws, or natural patterns which limit your development. And you can do it also because of spirit, is something which, because it has no form, it's closer to emptiness than anything else. So you can develop the right intention, and you can navigate the flow of T in the right way. One of the important principles of alchemy is called borrow the force to cultivate the genuine. I mean, borrow our body to cultivate the genuine body, more or less. Yes, and how exactly it does? And in what's internal alchemy, it creates first of all a map of the body. You can see it as example. One of the example of in Beijing, in Bangguan, this one. This is one of the example how a map of the body looks. It's not a map of physical body, it's a map of body of self-cultivation, more or less, yes? So it has some kind of channels, fields inside, and so on. And it is the body which you use to create your new immortal body. Besides, it's create a blueprint of the practice. So it's step-by-step practice, how practice should go. You know exactly what happens after that. Which means, one of the important description of the practice of the really new birth, which is pregnancy. There is copulation, there is pregnancy, there is growing of embryo, there is delivery. It's some kind of it's symbolic, but it's more or less what is happening there. The practice itself is more or less focus on the body, then navigate this transformation, use your correct minds, more or less. Again, just it's very, very. I try to make it simple. I hope it's clear. Important issue is in alchemical practice. It's called science or proofs of the practice. It's your physical or mental reactions. By the way, it's mystical experiences. But it's not mystical experiences per se, it's any reactions we practice. And it could be a scene of light, but it could be erection, for example. It doesn't matter. It's your reaction. And according to this reaction, practitioners understand where exactly on this cultivation journey is he or she is located. So this is approximately what internal alchemy is. I guess it's a little bit very simplified there. So, and then we return to Wanton-Hin. Wanton-Hin, the master of Wei Yao, he came and said approximately the following: if the body is the main impediment of practice, why do we don't need it at all? Let's forget about it. Let's practice from the beginning outside the body, which actually mean to cultivate, which is called fashion, which is in Buddhism is Dharmakaya, but I usually don't translate it like this because it has no connection with Buddhism. It's the true body, the true self, so to speak. And how you do it? You just concentrate outside your body on the breath outside the body. And after that, you forget about it, and then on some stage you awaken in a dream of the true immortality. Just you awaken in a dream, but the dream is a dream of new immortal world. This is exactly its practice, more or less. It's more complicated, but it's like this. So he focused on emptiness. He ignored physical body completely, entirely, and he focused on spirit. The problem is with this practice, if you think about it, okay, good, but what kind of how it does it connect to the internal alchemy, which all this complex practice complex practice of rebossancy, all this map is a blueprint, so on. And what Wei Yao actually does, he tried to explain it. He tried to present some kind of theoretically practical foundation for the teaching of his master, and he tried to explain why it's necessary, and how, and he explained what this practice is about. And he developed a very interesting understanding of what human self is. I actually said that human has two selves: one genuine self, one fake self. And actually, just from the perspective of traditional view, you actually born as genuine self, and then as you're growing up during puberty, yourself is changing, and you become something which is not genuine. It's something which can contaminate it, all this stuff. But there is a process from genuine self to fake, false self. From the perspective of Wei Yao, we have two selves, completely different, interconnected. The true self is born when a parents and their sexual relationship, in the emotional, they forget about everything, and they summon true young from emptiness. And this is our general self, which they summon it. And this this general self, it's very interesting. It's unique. It's created from nothing. It's unique for everyone, and it's something. It's more kind of spirit. Yes. And how exactly comes false self? False self is coming in a very funny way. When we are very close to be born, we summon a child, a kid. Not kid, a fetus who is going to become a child. He summon also genuine yin from outside. That genuine yin is called. There is a term called in Chinese zhong yin. I translated midlife, which may be not a good translation yet. And it is in Buddhism. It's a time from before maximum 7 weeks before a deceased find a new body. So basically, what is happening, we summon some soul of some other man or woman, other deceased soul, which take the place of our general self, which all these emotions, karma, all this stuff, it's not we. It's some guys from the previous self, which suddenly takes our place, and it's false. It's really false because it's not us. So there is actually a conflict between inside us, because some kind of true self, which is unique and came from emptiness, false self, which come from this deceased soul from somewhere. So there is a very interesting understanding of psyche. I think it's a conflict inside of us. But by the way, just to mention, there are some ideas of Taoism, some kind of unifying of nature of the stuff. It's more complex. In Taoism, idea of a conflict between us and nature is very significant. So this is because we have a false self. In cultivation, we need to ignore it. We need to throw it away, because it's intruder. But here happens more. But what happens with emptiness after that? And here's a very, very interesting idea. After this midlife, this false self take the place of our body, our mind, it pushes away emptiness, power of emptiness. And emptiness, it's very hard how exactly you push away emptiness. But actually, what it does, it pushes emptiness because scattered in different places. It's scattered outside, it's scattered inside our body. So we have inside our bodies have some kind of power of emptiness. It's something in our mind. So in different places, it's possible to understand from the perspective of our mind. We actually see it as emptiness, as scattered in different places. But despite of this emptiness still exists, and this emptiness actually the only source of our vital power, because it is actually which created us, generated us. It's also the emptiness around us. We exist inside emptiness. So basically, he compares this. It's not only his comparison, actually, he used it's a quotation, but he also compares the body of a puppet and a puppeteer. So we don't see it, but actually we still control by emptiness. We just don't understand it. So and this is explanation actually why he does, because he explained why in our practice we need practice only emptiness, because it's the only way to do it, because it's still the only force. On the other hand, on the other hand, it's other stuff. It's Dunyin is just something which the main impediment for our transformation. So how exactly the practice goes? And here's one Tunhin, his master, which when he understands the practice outside, he understands very literally. He's practicing here. It's just you focus on breathing outside the body. But Wei Yao understands is more complex, because practicing outside the body is mean practicing in a place where all scattered elements of emptiness could be unified together. It's which means it's unifying the emptiness of the body, emptiness of the mind on the one hand, and our emptiness and the emptiness of the universe around us. So we need some kind of place. This place in a specific place which is described is place which called Middle Palace. Middle Palace, it's the practice is the same as his master, actually. He's focused on here, on this place. But it's Middle Palace which unify our body, our mind, and the space around us, and so on. And these places, he believes, is connected with all channels in our body, which means if you focus on this, all practice of alchemy, it's focused naturally, proceed naturally, spontaneously. So he actually focus on breath, but how exactly he focused on breath in this Middle Palace? And here I just still give one translation just to give flavor of the text. He focused by listening, but he listened not to the sound. He listened to the absence of the sound, soundless sound, because you can see it. The character coalesce and the character rhythm have profound meaning. What originated from within is sound. From enters or from outside is noise. The ears are the master of rhythm for sounds, and the sound is emitted upon only one gaze inward and listening to it. All external noises vanish, and ears naturally hear heavenly sounds or rhythm. The ancient saints listening to a stringless zither with the ears refers to the sound. So basically, he listen to the rhythm of the breath, but no sound. The practice, he need completely put his outside ordinary senses. Forget it. He just close his outside, and there this phrase, the practice of listening, of course, is very ancient. It appears in Zhuangzi, in the ancient philosophy Zhuangzi, but he is a little bit different, in my opinion. He's quote here from, I don't know exactly, but from poetry, actually. So basically, this is a practice. You need to listen, and after that, you need to forget about it. So this listening, so ignoring some external sound, and listen to sound and breath. So what's important here, actually, because he actually doesn't deny that all alchemical process inside the body they all takes place. It all happens. All what alchemists describe, all these transformations of the body, they happens, but they happens naturally. He actually, practitioner doesn't need to think about it. He just need to focus on this practice, and that's it. Okay, so this is the main practice. But how exactly the body is created? New body, immortal body is created, and here is if he ignores the body, what exactly has been created? If practitioner ignores the physical body, what exactly has been created in the new immortal body? And he actually believe that what is created is thought. You think about it, it's not exactly his position. It was before also existed, which you think about like this: you have some kind of impression of some something happening in you, some impression of something happening in your body or mind, so what. And if you transform what? Really a physical body or impression itself? your thought itself. So actually, so basically, he thinks that the what is transforming into your body is actually thought, impression, your thinking. He divides two type of minds. I didn't it's like thought nyan, which is actually reaction to outside the world. What we think about thought, which I think I think about something. It's a reaction to something similar. This is taken and put together. They form which is called Shi, which is translated like a cognitive mind, which is ordinary mind, so to speak. Yes, and this is how our ordinary mind works. But the genuine mind works different way. It's connected of E. E is intention, which is translation. It's very hard to translate these terms. It's usually translated to intention, but maybe I need to think about something else. When you forget about something, enter state of complete nothingness, and after that you awaken up, and this is thought which is came from inside entirely. It's called as E. It's not came from outside, from reaction or something else, but from inside. It is it's actually, if you think about it, it's mimics the creation of general self from emptiness, which is described earlier. It's a little bit like I think of a child, like a kid, which is some kind of impression. Don't know exactly what's happening around you. It's very dim. It's very vague. Something should be there, because and this is exactly a thing which this is thought which is transforming into a body. Why transforming body? Because when it is born, it actually brings itself some kind of potentiality for creating a body. So it's like creating from the emptiness. It brings all of it to itself. And the Jue, which is enlightenment mind, which is different, that it is clear. So there is some kind of process from the misty, not clear thought of like a child to some clearness, and this movement to clearness is exactly this creation of body is about. And there is a term which is also not his term, which is coalescing the spirit into a body. You really form. I just form your thought into and your body. If you think about it, it's your body, your new immortal body, it created by your imagination, more or less, but your thinking. How how exactly it's possible to do? Because the main, the only thing which a practitioner need to do is constantly preserve the connection with this emptiness. You should not leave it, because if you leave it, it's actually lose this the power which is acquired during this process. Yes. And here, and the practice which is done is practice of alienating its interchange between forgetfulness and concentration, which is going approximately like this. You started the practice which I described before, and then you forget about it completely. Forget. What does it mean? Forget. You go to sleep. You're sleeping, really. But in specific state, but you sleep. Actually, the practice of sleeping is widely used in this school. And if you see this practice it's entirely different from the practice of, for example, like vipassana, for example, which you need to control everything in your body. You just need to go sleeping, to go for the practice of forgetfulness or oblivion. It's quite ancient practice in Taoism, which appears which exists, of course, during before Sun Dynasty and so on. I think a little bit different here, because what is important here is not when you forget, but when you exit the state of forgetfulness, which is important, because exiting a state of forgetfulness is meant to begin to create your body. But the issue is, after you exit this state, you need to return back. So basically, and you immediately return back to concentration and try forget it again. This is a practice how we go. You forget, you go to sleep, you awaken up, and then you immediately begin to focus on the breath and listen to it, and try to forget again. This is a practice, more or less, how it's going. And there is 3 stages of this practice. And in the beginning, you're not prepared, so I guess you forget, you concentrate, and then you try to forget again, and you can do it. So you stop the practice and do something else, and do this something like 7 days, 7 times a day. Then you can begin practice of nourishment, which is basically he actually described this plane of emptiness in many details, which is basically your practice is very for 1 or 3 years for a very rhythmical way, which is the same time you forget, the same time you concentrate, and then the final stage, which you really get birth to the body. New body, immortal body. You actually it practice of 7 days. It's not his idea. It's idea which appears very often in alchemy, which is actually mean that because imitate the development of the birth of humans. So actually, some events happens in human life only one time. So the birth can occur to one time. So the birth of the immortal body also occurred only one time. It's a 7-day practice, which is 7 days. You need go in deep practice of forgetfulness to die, and then you to be reborn in a new body. Okay, this is more. It's very simple because you just need to learn between forgetfulness and concentration. But the problem is again, the internal alchemy is you need to describe how it's going, how exactly the body is created. And it's usually it's more or less clean usual practice. But how exactly when you completely ignore the body or ignore the body? And he's presented in a very, very interesting way, I think, very funny way. This is actually why I call this lecture the shades of emptiness, because they're really shades, they're really colors. Because what he actually does, practitioner does, he actually draw his own body, you only see it. And so basically, the creation of the body is your creating of the body by imagining your internal appearance. Yes, and as the practitioner became closer to the emptiness, the image of the body became clear, more and more clear. It not disappeared, more and more clear, and it also there is a movement from the physiological reactions to visual reactions. Yes. So on the first stage of the practice, there's no image. You don't see anything. You have only physiological reaction, which is some kind of. It could be very physiological. It could be the feeling of heat, reaction of male, of course. Other reactions, and this practice finishes when they have some kind of vision of light, which also appears in other school. And then you begin a nourishment. And what happens in this practice? First, you see the black and white sphere near your abdomen, which is then ascending up and then transforming a color in the red color. Yes, so this is practice, and then on the final practice, this red color you see will transform in the red purple, and then in purple golden, and then golden color, and then you mind unifying with golden color. In this way, it unifies with the universe, and so the color which you see, you really see it's something, a medium from which you can unify your emptiness with emptiness of the greater universe. So basically, which is basically done is really creating this new again, but it's body actually, yes, but body is only color on the stage. So he created the body from really drawing it before such. So this is a practice. We can see this, how exactly he tried to resolve this problem, which is actually what is actually real, which is actually true, is imagination. Imagination, which is actually which is of course it's not any imagination. It could be a form according to some rules and so on, but it's imagination. And I finished this presentation with 2 questions which related to our this work group. First of all, whether I want or can call it esotericism, because if you see all this tradition, actually it's developed through exoteric means, so to speak. It was published, it was lectures, everything is known. But still, I think it could be called esoteric. Of course, Chinese never called esoteric, they call esoteric for several reasons. Some of them is culture and so on. But first of all, members of the group, they believe that despite that all knowledge is known, they still believe that they know the key to understanding this knowledge. So they still play the game of secrecy. It's sometimes a little strange because I'm not sure that secrecy exists. For example, in Taiwan, when I was in Taiwan, they said that, yes, everything's secret, but there is one secret, which only Chen Zhao, this guy in China, they opened to the whole world. And what the secret is, I'll open you the secret now, so you'll be more to be ready. It's like this. During the cultivation, you need, so we begin with the question, you need first put attention to this place, and then generally move your attention here. This is the secret. So basically, I'm not sure to what extent is the secret actually. Yes, so basically, I'm not sure the secret actually exists in this tradition, but they're playing this game. They play the strategy. Strategy, secrecy still exists. Beside this idea of structure, because how they structure this, despite it, quite many people belong to, they still present this in some kind of exclusive group, some kind of group which connected, some kind of closed group, more or less. You can enter this. It's not easy. You can communicate with them. I talk to them, but they're still closed group which connected by some kind of relationship. The idea of exclusiveness of this group still exists. And finally, the nature of the practice. It's different from the usual practice of making offers and the kind. Yes. So I believe it's imagining some kind of red sphere. It looks to me quite esoteric, frankly speaking. And finally, alternative. Alternative to what? It's also a question because alternative rationality. Of course, alternative. Of course, it's very important. Of course, it's alternative understand alternative to the scientific interpretation of alchemy, because it's entirely unscientific. It's ignoring any scientific. It's all about some kind of imagination practices. It's always. Everything practitioner does, he needs to ignore any connection with science at all. So for this, but here's a very interesting point, because Wei Yao and other members of the school always play with the idea of genuine and false. What is genuine, what is false? And when we are talking about genuine, it's what is true. I know it is, you know it is, you know it is, we know it's true. From his perspective, actually, what is true is subjective. Subjectivity are true. Because what exactly genuine true, which appears in your mind, in your consciousness, in your imagination, this is the genuine truth. So this is a very interesting idea, I think, quite a philosophical idea, how exactly subjectivity, genuine, so on. And it's also alternative, quite alternative understanding of rationality itself. It's a little bit tricky to discuss, because rationality is one of those terms which everybody knows, but nobody is able to explain what is it actually. I even tried to check definition of rationality. It's actually something to be rational is to be reasonable enough not to be rational, something like that, which is not clear. But he is very, you can define, you're talking rationality, at least two ideas. Idea of measurements. If you're rational, you can measure, you can mathematics, something like a kind. It's basically rational. We understand it's, if you think, for example, how rationality understood by Aristotle, so on, mathematics was also important. But from this perspective, measurement is not something which represents truth. Any measurements represent our ordinary world, actually. So basically, measurements is not an idea of rationality, and in other is clearness. We're talking about rational. I mean, we clear what's happening. We basically, if not clear, it's something irrational, more or less. But all his idea is movement from kind of misty, not clear thinking, understanding some clearness. It's also some kind of rationality. It's not irrational, but it's different kind of rationality. But I need to think about how to actually stated. And finally, it also acts alternative to tradition, because actually it's go against tradition. It's not return to it. His idea of creating of emptiness or building of emptiness, it's that he actually said, yes, all you describing your books, it's happening, but I don't care about it. It's happening naturally. I don't feed it. And this is idea, which is when he freed himself from some kind of rational explanation of the world, he also freed himself from traditional explanation. So basically, to some extent, he does not need alchemical theory too much. Okay, thank you.